Hello, everybody, and welcome to Paranormal Nation Radio. Not so normal, as it always is, with my co host Denise over there. And Ron will be in a little bit, coming through the doorway back there sometime.
Yep, he went out to sweat his butt off walking around the lake at a 105-degree heat index.
Boy, he's dedicated on these walks, isn't he?
He does it doesn't matter if it's hot, cold, raining. As long as it's not dangerous for him to be out there, he'll be out there.
How long has he been doing that?
I don't know. We've lived here over 20 years. So he was ever since we moved in here, he's been doing it, walking around our lake, walking around our town. He probably knows more people than I do around town.
Right.
How is that for odd? I mean, because we know Denise knows everybody.
Right.
Denise knows nobody here anymore, to be honest. I just don't. I don't get out there enough. I sit here at this desk and work, anywhere from 8 to 20 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is. But right. I did take yesterday off and only worked an hour last night.
Right. And you had a great show last night.
Thank you.
Premier show on the Billerites Network.
I had really good guests. That helped.
Yeah. And it's great to see your show finally going live after almost 7 years. Last night was 7-year anniversary.
Right. My actual anniversary was April 25th, 26th, right around there.
Mm-hmm.
But the show had to be canceled that night due to, my kid's car broke down.
Right.
All the way up in Kansas City, Kansas. And we didn't know if I was going to have to go get him or not. And it just wasn't worth. By the time that we found out everything was okay, I was so stressed out I couldn't handle it.
Right.
So it is what it is. And then multiple things. My work schedule got way out of control. I mean, we're selling off 2 parts of the company, and there's only one of me, and now I'm working for 3 companies at once. So
tell them you want 3 paychecks.
I'd like a raise at this point. 2017 was my last 1% raise. So if I want to complain, I mean, I'm complaining to you guys, but you guys can't do nothing about it. Only thing I can do is tell my boss what I know now.
Mm-hmm.
I know what they know, and they don't know exactly what I know at this point. So I know that they've lied to me way more times. So
right. Well, we've got a whole bunch of people down in the green room down here. So we'll bring up, of course, Luke, Dogsy as we call him, over in the UK, is with us tonight. How you doing, Luke? He's got his microphone off.
There we go. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I can figure out some stuff in the background.
A guy that has a tech show on Thursday nights and leaves his microphone off.
Should I trust him then?
Yeah. So we got Luke, and we also have returning with us Rex.
Hope you guys enjoy visiting with Rex again. I know I always do.
Yep.
And I brought you guys a special guest tonight. He's got a film out called Alien Abduction Answers, and his name is John Yost out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I think that we're going to learn something tonight, because none of us know that much about alien abduction. So you're going to be teaching us, John. So hopefully everybody will like to hear about it. And we also have a trailer to share and some other things. So make sure you guys are here paying attention so you get to see the trailer. I watched it last night. I found it to be very interesting. So welcome, John.
He can't hear you.
Welcome, John.
He can't hear you.
Unplug and replug.
Right.
He's got to do his sound. We just had him hooked up a little bit ago, folks.
Let's see here. Edit. Mic settings.
Okay. He's redoing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and Dara, I'd like to say hi to you. I see you out there in the chat room.
That's right.
So,
And everybody that's watching, post something in the chat room over here so we know where you're from.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
we like our chat room, we always involve them in all our shows. So,
Yeah, we do.
I think I hear the pitter patter of little feet.
oh, do
Uh,
you?
I
Let's see
got
if
the
we can.
bleep ready. That's what I was doing.
Now, can you hear us, John?
Yes, I can, sir.
Okay.
There we go.
Welcome.
Lovely.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Hello, Anne Marie from
It's a
Virginia.
paranormal show. You never know what's going to happen on here.
I believe it. I believe it.
So, John, how did you get involved with alien abduction?
When I was 7 years old, it was August of 1974, and it was a very hot night. And my parents did not have air conditioning, so the windows were open, and I was awakened about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning by this hum, kind of like an undulating buzz, like like this sort of thing. So I sat up on the edge of the bed, well, rubbed my eyes and didn't know what was going on, but I couldn't get back to sleep. I was disturbed. So I went to the bathroom, put some water on my face, had a glass of water, this sort of thing. And when I came out of the bathroom, I opened the door. And when I opened the door, standing in the doorway remember, I'm 7 years old. There was to my eyes, there was this Japanese television character called, at the time, Ultraman. And he was on television all the time. He was this really tall silver and red guy with big, huge eyes, and he fought the bad guys. So I was not afraid. I was not afraid. But this Ultraman, in my mind, was my size. And I was just an average kid, so he wasn't very tall. And we got very, very close. And when I say close, I mean like nose to nose. And I didn't have any fear until right about then. And what happened was, I don't know if you've ever been in a very large swimming pool. You get to that level where the water is right about here, and if you take another step, you're going to slide underneath the water. It felt like that. It felt like I was losing control, and I became scared to death. And you know what happens to a drowning person. I mean, they start to flail their arms, right? So, I mean, this is what's happening. I'm starting to fight with this entity, and I'm laying hands on it. And there's this tremendous flash of light, and I see all this kaleidoscope of different lights, almost like being on a Ferris wheel, going too fast. And I'm in the middle of this, and when I kind of come back to my senses, I'm still in the middle of this fight, but my back is to the outside of the bathroom, and this entity's back is in the bathroom. So I'm in the middle of this struggle, and he reaches out with I say he, I don't know. He reaches out with his right hand, and he touches me on my left shoulder. And there's this tremendous light, and I feel this power, almost like if you've ever been to the ocean and been hit in the chest by a wave, felt like that. And I fall. Now, right behind me are these hardwood stairs. So I fall down the stairs. And my parents' room is on the first floor. So it's in the middle of the night. They come around the corner. They're screaming, what's going on? And I am bawling my eyes out. I'm a little boy. I'm screaming. And I'm screaming. I'm saying, listen, Ultraman is upstairs. And I'm sure my father heard intruder, right? Mm-hmm. So he runs up the stairs. He's slamming doors. After a while, he comes to the top of the stairs, and he's looking down at me, and I'm still crying. My mother's holding me. And he says, there's nobody here. So they take me upstairs, and they do what parents do. I think you have all done this. They look under the bed. There's nobody there. They show you. They look in the closet. There's nobody there. And they put me to sleep. Well, that's fine. The very next day, remember, this is summer break. There's no school. So, I mean, back in 1974, if you were a kid, you were outside, right? You go out
Right.
after breakfast, you don't come back until dark, right?
Right.
I don't
Street
know,
lights come on. It's time to be in.
That's
that's right. So my mom calls me in for dinner and she says, listen, you are disgusting, because I've been outside all day. And she says, we're going to get a bath before dinner. And of course, I'm a 7-year-old boy. I don't want to get a bath. You know how that works. And so she's struggling a little bit. She takes off my T-shirt and she's looking at the bruises all over me from the fall. And she gets to my left shoulder and she says, honey, what happened here? And I look around and I say, Mom, I told you, Ultraman was. And she looked really sad. She gave me a little kiss on the forehead and she said, honey, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. So I don't think anything about it. I'm a kid, So I have dinner and that's it. But a couple of days later, my father's taking me to the doctor. And as we're pulling into the driveway there, the parking lot, he looks back at me, and he was a mill worker. He's a tough guy, big guy. And he said, "Now listen, when we get in there, I don't hear any of this shit about Ultraman. You keep that stuff to yourself." And so, I love my dad. I would have done anything for him. I said, "Sure, yeah, Dad." So we go in. The doctor gives me a perfunctorial exam. He's looking at the bruises, which are now starting to yellow because it's a couple of days later, right? And he gets to my shoulder, and he says, "Whoa, sport, what's this?" And I look over the doctor's shoulder, and I can see my father in the corner, and he's giving me the eye. And I know kids act differently today, but back in 1974, if your father gave you the eye, you know what the hell that meant.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, I don't know. I was just outside playing." And so he said, "Okay." Checked me out a little bit, manipulated a little bit, gave me a lollipop, and I walked out the door. Well, my father, as we're driving home, we pull into the driveway of my parents' home, and he says to me again, he says, "Now listen, we get in there. I never want to hear anything about this Ultraman shit again. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want you to scare your mother. I don't want you to scare your sisters. I want you to keep that stuff to yourself." And, I said, "Sure." And so I lied about it all my life. And people ask me, when you got to be like a teenager and stuff, why didn't you say something? I said, well, look, after a while, it just becomes habit. I can see you have a baseball hat on and a pair of glasses, right? So this morning you didn't say, you know what? I need to see clearly, so I will take these glasses and I will put them on No, you never did that. What you did was you just reached over and put them on. That's all you did.
Put them on. Put my
Right.
hat on.
That's it. That's what you do because it's just a habit. So after so many years, it just became a habit. So, I played sports and, you're in the locker room, whatever. And I made up all kinds of shit. I said I was struck by lightning. I'd been bit by a bear. I had been shot. Anything would have been easier to say than, I was abducted. You didn't want to say that. You didn't want to say that. So I kept that to myself all my life until about 4 years ago. So that's how I got involved.
So, well, I mean, like I said, I watched the trailer. I saw I saw the parts that you shared in there, and I know another person who has been abducted. She's been abducted 9 times, and the alien species that abducted her was a friendly species. So she said that they implanted her with something and she has not been sick since. And so every time she sees something in the sky, she's running after it. Driving after it. She lives in Nevada. So she sees it, she's going out after it, hoping it's the same species that abducted her years ago. Do you happen to know anything about possibly which species it was that abducted you?
Yeah. Like I said, I had that memory all my life. And it was clear as day. I'm looking at you good people, and that's exactly what I saw. And it wasn't a question of was it real or not. I mean, I had gone to the doctor. I still have the mark today. It's large, and but what I can tell you is this: is that that was not Ultraman in the hallway. What had happened was during the filming, and there's a whole kind of conversion why we started to film this film. It's a total accident. It's an interesting story in itself, but the guy that I was encountering was more of an insectoid kind of guy, and he had instead of I guess they're antenna, but instead of them, they looked more like branches. They were they had like almost like deer antlers. You know when they first come in, they have kind of a fuzz on them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. That sort of thing. And then when he took me, I realized later on when we in the film you see what happens to me and why I've remembered more of this stuff. They took me to this underground place. And the guys that were in there were, they look a little bit like Greys, but they're not Greys. They have much longer faces, almost like a horse.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. And so I don't want to answer more than you asked me, but those are the two types that I encountered.
You know, the thing is when it comes right down to it, there's only so much that I know. So if I ask you something and you want to answer more than that, please go ahead.
Right.
We'll all learn something here.
Right.
Now,
Sure.
I have a cousin who works at Johnson Space Center, and he is an astronaut, and he's told his father multiple times, and I've heard him say it, is there's nothing out there we don't know about.
That's an interesting answer.
Yeah, he goes, there are no unidentified flying objects. We know what all of them are. And so it's really interesting to hear him talk about that. I've never met my cousin's kid. I've never met him. He's an adult, of course. And we plan on going down to Houston at some point to visit him, just to talk to him, because, you know, I can't have him on the air. He can't talk about what he knows publicly. So the only way I can interview him is to sit there and talk to him. So I want to know more, because, you know, we can't be the only life form out there. I mean, this can't be the only planet with life.
Yeah.
It can't be. I would say that, you know, we can't be the only planet with intelligent life, because I think that leads a lot up to interpretation. Let's be honest. Sometimes we see zero intelligence here. Let's be honest. We all know that. So I want to know more. Why do people get abducted? I've met Travis Walton.
Okay.
Like the man, very nice.
Nice man.
He was, and Rex met him as well.
Yep.
We had, like I said, we had a really good time when we met him, and learned a lot from him. The funny thing is I know Rex is going to remember this. His favorite story was not an abduction story. It was meeting, you know, which Kardashian was his favorite.
Right.
I'm serious. And it was Bruce Jenner. He really enjoyed meeting Bruce Jenner. But that was, I mean, I don't know if Rex saw it, but when I asked that question, he sat up really tall and put a big smile on his face and just started yapping away. He wasn't as reserved as he was when he was talking about abduction.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was kind of funny. But I do have his book. I bought it from him directly because I wanted it. It was my birthday present last year. Okay, so I'll tell you. So I want to know more about why people get abducted. Do you know the reason why you got abducted, or what they got from you?
Well, that's a big question. That's a big question. Let me say this to you, a couple of things. First of all, in the film, I addressed this subject. If you just take a look at this particular podcast and look at the people here, we're all different heights. We have different hairstyles. We have different skin tones. We have different weights. And this is just on a little podcast. You know, if you take a look at the Earth, you know, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars, right? And so one of the things I put in there is kind of a little parable about Elon Musk getting to Mars, right? And on the ship, there's somebody from Africa, there's somebody from Asia, there's somebody from America, there's somebody from Switzerland, there's somebody from Germany, okay? And they all get out. And on Mars, there's a Martian. He comes out and he goes, well, which one of you are from Earth? Well, of course, they all look different. Of course, because of their evolution and their diet, et cetera, they all look completely different. Different heights, different weights. And that is all from one ship, from one planet. Now, think about this. Let's bear down on that. So, what kind of agendas do they have? Okay, well, one of them might be military. One of them might be scientific. One of them might be out just to explore. Okay. So all of these agendas, all of these people from one ship, from one planet. Okay. If the idea is that life is prolific in the universe, then there's absolutely no way to nail down this is the specific thing, they want, the specific thing they are looking for. Because if you're looking for scientific study, you might have an entire different list of things that you need, as opposed to military, as opposed to whatever.
Right.
The problem with this entire field is this, that somebody, not Travis, not myself, but people will say, look, this is what it is. Okay. It's these little gray guys, and this is what they're doing, and they're doing hybrid tests, and this is the way it is. That's bullshit. That's there, that includes that, but it's not the whole picture. If you will, I will give you my kind of overreaching theory. I believe that there are 4 basic sources of what we're seeing in the sky and what we're dealing with as far as entities. Okay, number 1, I truly believe that the U.S. government and governments around the world have science that we've never seen before. There's tech that we've never encountered before, and they've been hiding it for many, many years. And every time, the Blackbird was one. The B-2 bomber was one. They hit it. Area 51 didn't exist until they couldn't hide it anymore. Okay. So there's scientific tech out there that exists that is part of what is going on. Part. Secondly, there's this consciousness, this energy that Gaia, that Earth itself gives off. And it's coexisted with us since the very beginning of time. Women and men have called it to sprites, people of the forest, elves, fairies. It's this sort of intelligence that has coexisted and bumped into mankind. But take a look at us now. 99% of us leave our home, get into our car, go to an office store, to a shopping center, come back, go back to our home. We are very rarely in nature. There are some of us that are, but most of us in civilized world are not part of it anymore. So we don't encounter that. But some of the things that we are encountering, these lights, the brown lights, the lights in the desert, are that consciousness, that energy coming off Gaia, Earth. Thirdly, yes, some of these things are from, pick it up, Venus or Mars or Alpha Centauri or wherever. Okay, they're nuts and bolts. Why is this so hard for people to understand? Look, we, as humans, are sending out probes all throughout the entire solar system. This is what we're doing today, okay? And what do we do when we get to these planets? We take samples. So why is it hard for us to understand that another intelligence would be flying around and taking samples? Of course they are. And if we had people on these ships and we came upon some sort of life form, you don't think that we would study them? We would fly down in our helicopters and we shoot a dart into the elk and we tag the ear and we would follow the migration, and just like this. And do you think that elk would say, yeah, it was kind of like an abduction? Yes, of course it would be. So that is happening as well. And then last of all, and this is the thing that really makes people lose their mind, but you good folks, because of where you are in your minds and how you've seen the world, you know that there are things beyond the veil. There is this thing that we have encountered since the beginning of time that people have called angels and demons. Some people in the ufology world, they call them ultra-terrestrials. And these are entities through either physics or through their own consciousness can pierce this veil, interact with us, and somehow pull back and vanish without a trace. And this is where the crossover there is with poltergeists and UFOs and ghosts and spirits. There is this nexus, this area, this crossroads where all of those things somehow intersect. And some of what we're seeing is that. For people who have a hard time understanding that, this is the example I give. Let's suppose you and I, Denise, we're standing beside a pond, okay? And I stick my big ugly mug in the pond. And a fish comes by and sees my face. Now, my face doesn't look like any other fish he's ever seen, right? And my face moves like no other fish he's ever seen. Now, this is very important. The fish has no concept that the face is attached to a head, is attached to a neck, is attached to a body that lives completely outside the dimension of the pond, the dimension of the fish, has no concept that there is a walking, talking entity outside of their reality. So, after I can't breathe anymore, I pull my head out and I disappear. So the fish goes over to his friends and says, man, you can't believe what I just saw. Come on over here. And they go up and they see absolutely nothing and no proof. And they say, you're full of shit. You're lying. There's no proof. And that's what we're encountering in that fourth source. So this is a convoluted situation. And I laugh a lot of times when I hear experts talk about, well, I have the answer. That's why my film is called Alien Abduction Answers. Somebody yelled at me the other day, said, oh, you have answers. I said, wait a second. I didn't say the answer. I don't have the answer. What we have are landmarks, are points of reference, commonalities that people can understand. They can follow the same path that we have. And it's not just my story. I mean, there are 6 other individuals in this film that all have different sorts of contact. Some of them were very positive, like you mentioned, Denise. Mm-hmm. Some of them were very, very negative. But in all cases, if we ignore that fear, mm-hmm. that's a mistake because it's part of this. Because think about this. Almost all fear comes from one thing, which is ignorance, right? You don't understand. You don't know how deep that water is. You don't know what's in that dark area. You don't know what's around that corner. So you're ignorant of the facts, right? If you're going down the street and the water's washed out the street, you'd be afraid because you wouldn't know how you're going to get across. So the idea is to help people, give them some sort of answer, shepherd them through that fear so they can think with a calm mind. So as soon as you can, like for example, that road with the water washing out the road. If you knew that, you could make choices, right? You could say, well, hell, I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to go the other road. Or, you know what? I got a canoe. I'm going to go across that. Or I'm going to 4-wheel up over the hill. You would have decisions. But when you're afraid, you can make no decisions.
Other than to be afraid.
Yeah.
So would you like to share for me to share the trailer now, since you've talked a little bit about it?
Go right, do whatever you say, miss.
So here we go. Screen. Let me pick the right screen for a change. Here we go. So here we go, guys. Is it showing here? Hold on a second here. I'm not doing something right. That's okay. I don't have to do everything perfectly right every time. So here it comes.
There we go.
Yeah, let me turn on the sound.
Your mouse.
This is not communication. It's community.
Can you hear it?
hundreds of thousands of people have claimed contact. That will change you. It changed me.
Lost in between two worlds and two dreams.
This was something that I kept buried for years. Strange things would happen. I didn't want anything to do with it anymore.
He came at me, and I fought for my life.
Ships started to pop up in the sky. And there's this bizarre disk of light. And it was moving across the sky very fast.
The experience is often very terrifying.
If I felt fear, I would crawl under my covers, hoping that it would go away, whatever it was.
I know that we were put in that craft. I knew I was going to go to another planet.
And the being was right next to my face.
He saw two shadow beings. That's when I felt like I was going to die.
I had a real encounter with something. Even if I had to live with the fear, is to know the truth. Is to know.
Wow.
So, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
That was interesting. That would draw you to the movie because I'd like to find out more about it.
I can't wait to see it.
That's what I told him last night after I saw it.
Right.
So,
And that's what they're saying over in the chat room too. They got to watch it.
Got to watch it.
Because
so-
like John like said, most of us have never dealt with alien or talked to people that's been abducted and everything. It's great to have you talking on here because I'm learning a lot listening to you.
Can you hear? Can you still hear us?
Oh, I can hear you. I just was trying to be polite and not interrupt.
That's all right. That's all right. But yeah, I mean, and a lot more people out here need to listen to things like that because there's a lot of people out here, just like you said, you've always, in the paranormal and alien abductions, when you're little, you're always told to keep your mouth shut. Denise can testify to that and stuff. So,
And all my paranormal stuff happened around the same time as yours. Mine started in like 1969, and so at least that I know of. Okay, let's go with what I know of. My paranormal experiences started happening back in 1969, and and we're only a couple years apart. So, and probably not too far from the same areas at the time. Because, I mean, a lot of my experiences happened in New Jersey and Maryland and things like that back then. So, like I said, when I watched the trailer last night, I thought, I'd like to talk to you. I thought this would be a good forum for you to get more people to know about your film, on top of maybe all of us learning something about alien abduction that we don't know.
Right.
We need to find out more somehow, some way. And the only way we're going to find out more is from people who are brave enough to speak about being abducted. And I know one of the Daniel Burkhoff says there's no need to fear aliens. I think there's two schools of thought on that. They also say there's no need to fear humans.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody has, I can't say everybody. We all have fears of something.
right.
And then we sometimes are right to be fearful of those other people. You know, in my case, you know, I'm terrified of serial killers. Good reason. You know, what are your odds of meeting a serial killer? probably pretty good these days. But
Yeah.
back in the 70s, not so much.
Right.
So just because one species is not something to fear doesn't mean that all species shouldn't be feared. But we have to go with an open mind.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. The difficulty is when you start to assign labels like these are evil and these are good. So think about this, you know, if you had a wild tiger in a cage and you put your arm in, chances are the wild tiger would chew your arm off, right?
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
So is the wild tiger evil?
No.
Well, to you, maybe, but
Yeah.
truly not. Just doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing or what it wants to do.
Right.
And this is the point. This is the point that these entities are many, many years ahead of us in technology and also evolution and spiritual growth. Some of them consider us an experiment. Some of them consider us their children. Some of them, think about this. Let's suppose we all went to the zoo, right? And we walk by and we see the raccoons and they're behind glass. And say, Denise, you walk by and you kind of wave, oh, hey, little raccoon. And that raccoon turns around and looks right at you and goes, well, you'd say that's pretty crazy. That's, hey, guys, look at this. Look at this. And what if that raccoon got right up to the glass and said, you'd say, what the hell is this raccoon doing? This has got to be the smartest damn raccoon in the world. Okay, look, this raccoon could be a genius, but you would still treat it like a raccoon, yes?
I would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, of course. So you got to understand, this is the problem for us as people, okay? Our species, every race on this planet. We have been raised to think that we are the top of the food chain. We
Right.
are the smartest. We are the badass. We are the ones with the money and the power and the guns and everything else. And we eat everything. Okay. The problem for this is why now think about this. Think about this. The governments of the world are finally saying, you know, I mean, they said for years, we don't believe in this crap, but here's 1,500 pages of stuff that we don't believe in, but we're going to release it now. Okay. So you're liars. Of course you're looking at it. Of course you were reviewing it. Okay. And what have they done since the 40s? They have intimidated people. They scared people. They told people to lie. They did okay. That was about shiny lights in the sky, which are really, in a lot of ways, innocuous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about the lengths that they would go to if they couldn't control interaction with their people and the people on those vehicles. This is mind-blowing. This is why people don't want to talk about it. This is like the greatest no in this subject,
Yeah.
right? And actually, it is the most exciting and most wonderful because here's the thing. These entities are not dealing with governments. Some are, but these entities are dealing with people individually. There's something going on. And you know what connects us? Everybody says, well, why the hell are they interested in us, right? You said, you know, you can't find intelligent people on this planet, or very few, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is where I was
Definitely
talking
not in
about
government.
blending all this paranormal together. Stop and think about this. I don't care if you're religious. I don't care if you're of a scientific mind. I don't care anything. We are all from the same place. Now watch. If you believe in a God creator, which I happen to, then we're all sons and daughters of God. We're all breathed, that spirit of life is into us. Okay. If you believe in the Big Bang, okay, fine. Boom. We're all pieces of that stardust that came from the same place. So we're all from the same source, right? Doesn't have to be religious, doesn't have to be legal. It just has to be, if we understand that, okay, then we're all equal. Now, let's take it a little bit step further. Okay. What ties us all together? Well, it's definitely not skin color. It's not intellect. It's not height. It's not hair color. It's consciousness, meaning that we understand that we are thinking beings. I am, therefore I think, right? Okay. So what is consciousness itself? Okay. Let me play a little game with you. Has this ever happened to you? You ever been in the crowd and staring at somebody, and they turn around, they see you because they felt you staring at them? Okay.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened reverse, where you turn around and somebody's staring at you in traffic or whatever? Okay. How is that possible? They're not touching you. How's that possible? Because there's something going on right above us, right around us, that we don't see with our eyes and we don't hear with our ears. There is a connection, a consciousness. Let's go one step further. Have you ever been thinking about somebody and the phone rings and it's them? Or somebody's thinking about you and you, okay, listen, if consciousness did not exist, that would never happen. Now, I've heard people say, well, that's coincidence. Okay, fine. How can it be coincidence when every single person on the freaking planet has the same experience? That's more than a coincidence. There's something there. Okay. So imagine this. So imagine your mind is not where you are. Imagine you are back here and you are wearing this suit, right? So I ask you, I'll ask my dear friend here with a hat. All right, sir. If you took that hat off and you set it on your desk, would that hat jump around and play around on your desk? Of
No.
course not, because it's an inanimate object. You are a man wearing a hat. You're not a hat wearing a man. True?
Right.
Okay. So here's a question. Are you a body with a soul or a consciousness? Are you a soul with a body? So if you die, if your body dies and it sits there, it can't animate itself. It takes that soul or that consciousness to animate it. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So if we understand that, and I know this is a long way around, but this is going to make sense in just a second. If we understand that number one, we all come from the same source, either the creator, intelligent design, or the Big Bang. Okay.
Right.
And we also understand that we're conscious and we're souls wearing bodies, right? Or consciousness wearing bodies. Then the question of why are these entities interested in us becomes a little clearer. Because number one, we're all from the same source. And number two, they're looking at your energy and not your body or your mind or your clothes or your hat. This is something on a much deeper or a much elevated level. And this is why if you hear a lot of these people who talk about interactions with aliens, people say, well, they don't really talk. They hear them in their head, right? Okay. Well, think about this. If I said the word love to you, okay, well, I could love a sandwich, right? Or I could be totally in love with my bride. Okay, same word, different thing, right? The emotion, we try to describe the emotion. And that's why telepathy works, because they have advanced themselves to a level where they can place images and sight and sound and symbols in your mind to communicate the truth, as opposed to using words that are limiting. Think about the Eskimos. How many words do they have for snow? Like 13, 14, because everyone is a different type of snow.
Right.
Because the word is limiting. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm ranting. Go ahead.
Oh,
No,
that's
that's
all
all
right.
good.
No.
It's all
That
good.
was a good explanation of it. I'd never really thought of it that way.
I'd like to say hi to everyone in the chat room. If you guys
Yeah.
have any questions at all to ask John, please make sure you ask them because. Oh, Luke's got a question.
So I tell you what, I never believed in all this alien stuff. Never ever in my life, right? Until a couple of weeks ago. And that's when the CIA released their entire collection of alien spottings. What do you think?
By the way,
about
they
it?
did not release their entire collection.
Oh no.
They say
released
it's their
this-
entire
yeah,
collection.
Yeah, it's this much.
Yeah.
It's this much.
It's probably
What-
even less than that.
Yeah, what do you think about it though? Like all these things coming up on like IR, infrared, and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned in my third source of where this is coming from, yes, there's technology we don't understand. It's outside of our scope and outside of our physics. And it's funny because you seem like a very nice man, a very reasonable man. And you thought for 50 years everybody lied to you. But the government told you what to believe, and now you do. Think about that. Think about that heavy. Think about the rest of the world like that. And you already have a mind that allows you to accept certain concepts that are outside. This is what I'm trying to get across to people. Look. Think about your eyes, just your eyes, okay? I'm not talking about something spectacular, right? Some of our eyes are better than yours, right? Okay.
Right.
Is that supernatural? No.
No.
Just our eyes happen to be a little bit more sensitive, right? Okay.
Right.
Listen, do dogs have better eyesight or better smell than we do? Sure. Do eagles? Do hawks? You damn right. Okay, it's not supernatural. It's just more sensitive, right? These things, and this is what's really going to blow your mind, my friend. These things have been here since the beginning. And what's happened with this big thing with the Senate and the Department of Defense and everything else, they have changed the paradigm. This is why this is so important. Not because of what they said, because shit, I'm going to tell you something. They've kept a lot of stuff to themselves too. But let me tell you this. Think about this. There are three types of people. First type of people. Think of them like bankers or stockbrokers, right? They're calculating their money. They don't give a shit about anything. Yeah, they're down here. They're down. That's UFO stuff. That's a bunch of crap. I don't need any of that. Okay, fine. Then you've got other people, maybe a little bit more open-minded, who say, well, mathematically, I can understand how, there could be life in the universe. It's big and, that seems reasonable. But what does it have to do with my life, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have the third type of people, kind of like us, who say, listen, I'm telling you, there's things here we can't explain, and there are possibilities and answers that you have not considered, right?
Right.
So watch this. So the Senate comes out, the DOD comes out, and they say, well, we've been lying. And yes, we have been studying this for years and years and years. And here's some information. Okay. So watch this. The first type of person, that banker, he's down here like this. He says, what the hell are you talking? Wait a minute. There's something. What the hell are they looking at? For the first time in that person's life, they look up. For the first time in their life. The second kind of person who says, I considered this and this makes sense, but what does it have to do with me? Wait a minute. You mean that we're spending tax money, my tax money on study? What the hell are they looking at? They look up. Now, with a more focused look, because now they want to know what the hell we're involved with. And then the rest of us go, welcome to the party. We've been telling you for years, yes, here's a tinfoil hat. You're part of the club now. So what I will tell you about all of these videos is there's a lot more footage that you haven't seen, and it's going to come out, and they're going to drip and drab it. And by the way, the reason they're doing that is this. We talked about tigers. Tigers only do one thing, right? Well, they hunt, they have babies, they kill, they eat, okay. Same thing with sharks. Well, what do governments do? Be honest with yourself. Whether you like the government or you don't like the government. Think about it. They only do two things, really. They control and they tax, right? And they tax so they can control, right? It doesn't matter how much they control or how little control, but that's what a government does, okay? Think about this. What they want to do is they want to control the narrative. They want to control the words coming out. They want to control that story because guess what? If it comes out wrong, then everybody's going to know for certain and be pissed off that they've been lied to for all these years. The people who had died in those experiments, the people who have been ruined, their careers have been destroyed by the government, they're going to be pissed. They can't have this. It's got to be a controlled leak. And why are they doing it? Well, what you find out in my film is they have no choice. Because within our lifetime, something's going to occur that no one will be able to argue the point anymore. It will be part of our life. If every city had a gigantic football field saucer right above it, I'm not saying that's happening, but if every one of them had it, it'd be hard for people to deny something was happening, right? Okay.
Right.
People have said so many times to me, about why don't they land on the White House lawn, right? I don't know. In 1952, they flew over the White House. They flew over the Capitol. We sent up bombers to get them. And they disappeared. We brought our guys back. They appeared again right where they were. We went over. They said hello. They've been saying hello forever. problem is that we come back to our egos. That can't be. That's bullshit. I'm in control of my life. I know where I go to work. I know how I pay my taxes. I know everything. I'm the top of the chain. When we realize that we are just part of this, then your mind opens up and you realize that there is things around us all the time, but we can't see them. We can't hear them. Our eyes are only filters for the light that we can see. But the spectrum of light is this big and we can only see this much. Hell, I think I got a couple hunters here with me, right? So let's
Right.
suppose we're out in the middle of the night. We got some night glasses on, right? And when there's a bear down on that hill, okay? And you decide, well, listen, I don't want to look at that scary bear. I'm going to take the glasses off. Okay, I still have my glasses. Guess what? That bear's going to come up and make your night very up. You're not going to be happy, right?
Right.
Because the bear doesn't disappear because you don't want to see it.
Right.
Okay? What's happening is our technology, I'm circling back to your question. Our technology is finally really catching up with this. We're finally able to start to measure this stuff, and we're still confused. 300 years ago, nobody realized that germs caused illness, right? They thought they were evil spirits. Okay. We got a microscope. We see germs. My question is this: were the germs always there, or did they just appear because we had a microscope? No, the germs were always there. We just got smart enough to see the germs.
They said, I want to, there's so many things I want to learn about this, but we're going to go ahead and ask Sally's question right now.
Yeah.
She
Right.
wants to know, is there a specific area where abductions happen more often than others? Do you know?
They happen all around the world. All around the world. In fact, we quote hundreds of thousands, but we discovered that there are literally millions. There are millions of abductions. And here's the thing. There's a lot of things that happen that people don't realize that are abductions or interactions. But there's a great author named Ray Hernandez. He did this huge study with all these physicists and psychologists, psychiatrists around the world. He said, to people who disagree with this or whatever, he said, I like to take 100 people and put them in a room. And I say, listen, in your entire life, is there one thing that you can't explain? Something strange that happened that you have no explanation of. He said, you can't find a group of 100 people that one person doesn't say. And usually it's a bunch of people. Okay.
Right.
So what's happening is just like my little example about taking off the night glasses. These things are happening and people aren't recognizing them and they're not identifying them and they're not identifying for what they are. They have happened all around the United States. They have happened all around South America, North America, Europe, Russia. And in fact, we have in one section of the film, you'll see a tally of year by year and the abductions that have been occurred. But for every one that's been documented, there have been hundreds that haven't been.
That's true.
So what are some of the signs that you've been abducted and you don't know it?
Yeah. Missing time. I'll tell you something that's happening to me now. I work about an hour and 10 minutes away from my office, hour and 15 minutes. I don't work 3 hours away from my office. I don't work 3 hours away from my office.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason that I'm arriving home 3 hours later. There's no reason.
Does that happen often?
It's happened quite a few times. Since what happened, like there's a missing part of the story. Maybe I'll go into it and this will help. People ask me, well, why'd you make a movie now? You know what I mean? So, you lived with this your whole life. Well, I grew up like a normal kid, went to school, got a job. And for the last 25 years, I've been working in television and film production. Been on screen and behind screen. I wrote, direct, all kinds of stuff. We do all kinds of stuff. Think about us as like the guys who turn the wrench. We've worked for Fox, we've worked for Esquire, we've worked for Comcast and Suddenlink and Cable Link and all these other guys. And so people want to make a commercial or they want to make a TV show so we have the cameras, we have the drones, we have everything. We have the editors and the writers, and so we do it. And we were on a shoot. This happened about 3.5 years ago, and this is why I made the movie. 3.5 years ago, we were in a place called Borrego Springs, California, and I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's very flat. Okay, it's arid. It's like a desert. And we were out at night and we were shooting, which happens a lot of times. And we came back to the big house that we had rented. And there were about 15, 17 people with us. And so my team and I were downloading all the footage because we don't want to lose anything. You know, we have hard drives, we want to keep it. And so we go out to, there's a big pool behind the house. The house is a big ranch house. And we go out to the pool and we're going to have a nightcap. It's about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. So everybody's pouring a drink, you know, and I hold up my glass, like right here. And I had a glass, not a plastic cup. And as I get it filled, I see this glint of light in it. And my mind says, that's the moon, right? It got to be the moon, right? But then as I'm bringing my glass down, I'm realizing that it was the new moon. There was no moon outside. That's why we shot. We had big lights and things like that to control the light. So I was confused. And as I bring down this glass, I see over my shoulder about 30 feet away and about 30 feet above the house, this irregular shaped thing, kind of like an egg, almost. And it was blue and green, and it was glowing from inside. And I almost shit myself. I'm going to tell you something. I went, what in God's... And my mind is racing to figure out what the hell this is, right? And I say, have you ever been to the hospital and you get one of those good, you know, get well balloons? You know, they're mylar, they're shiny metal. Mm. My mind is saying that's what that is. But it was as big as a car. And so I'm losing my mind. I grab one of the guys here. He's one of my camera guys. I turn him, and he's looking. He says, oh, my God. And there were, you know, like I said, 15, 17 people. People turned around. They went, oh, look at this. Look at this. And this thing moved like a bat out of hell and zip, 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 and stopped right above my head. And it just froze there for a second. And I thought I was going to die. Because what happened at that moment was I had that feeling again about slipping underneath the water. The exact same feeling that I had had when I was a little boy. And that it zipped a little bit away, like 10 feet away, and then it drifted out into the desert. And because it was so flat, we watched it for, I want to say, like 2 minutes almost. Well, everybody is talking about, oh my God, that was incredible and everything else. Meanwhile, I was dying inside. And all of that fear that I had as a little boy. Remember, the memory came back as a 7-year-old boy. I'm a man now, I'm an old guy, but the feeling that I had was raw, like I was a little boy. And I thought I couldn't breathe. So I'm in charge of this crew. So I got to get control of myself, right? So I got to stand up and take a sip, and I say something stupid like, well, you know, you can fool around, but I've got paperwork to do, this sort of thing, right? And I'm going to go back to I go back, and I barricaded that door with my luggage and the bed, and I sat in a corner, and I wept like a little kid. And I had one of the most horrible nights of my life. Because everything came back to me. I mean, I had always remembered it. I mean, you know, you can remember things from your childhood, but I mean, it was visceral and raw. And so I'm trying to get control of myself. Remember, you know, we're on a shoot. We've got a couple more days in the field. And I'm trying to get control of myself. And to be a producer, and please forgive me. I don't know what your experiences are. Please forgive me. But to be a producer in television and film, you have to be very anal retentive. You have to be really, you know, every box needs to be checked because you're using somebody else's money, right?
Right. Not only that, your name's going on it. I tell people that all the time about when I met Zach Bagans. Yeah, he might seem like a douche, but he's he's very A-type personality when it comes to his name being on stuff. And that's
Right.
the way it has to be.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
like I said, your name is associated with this forever.
Sure. But I was slipping. This is the thing. And these guys had known me for a long time. I've worked for the same company now. I mean, I've been in the business for 25 years or so, but I've been in the same company for 9 years at this point in the story. But they noticed something wrong with John. And I was furious with myself. You know, I mean, this is affecting my profession, affecting my, you know, my representation of myself. And I'm angry. And I developed this tremendous fear of open sky and open water.
Mm.
So I get on a plane, I'm going home, and I get myself tuned, if you understand me. And I just sleep all the way till I get home. But my family notices something wrong with me. And so this goes on for a little bit, and I get really pissed at myself because I'm losing my mind. I'm thinking I'm going crazy. So I decide, you know, I guess other people would have gone to a psychiatrist or something like that, but that wasn't my way. I thought, look, I'm going to read. You know, I got to find out, did other people suffer from this? Did other people have something like this? And how did they deal with it, right? So I started to read and started to do this. And then that developed into, I wanted to talk to people to find out what happened to them and how they dealt with it. How were they successful? And so along that way, more things came to my mind. And so during that time, that's when the decision was made. It started off just being catharsis, like me healing myself.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had enough material to tell a story, and I thought, wow, other people might be suffering like this too. And so I wanted to help some folks because I know that this, even today, I mean, I'm telling you right now, but I can feel myself choking up a little bit because those emotions are still so raw. So that's how the movie came about. Because we were doing all kinds of other things, you know, true crime. You talked about serial killers. We have something on serial killers during the 70s, you know, and sports and everything else. But this is why this movie started to happen, because I had so much material that I said, look, we can put this together and maybe this will help some people. I never knew that I was going to be in it. That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident. And then we never knew that it would get distributed, but now it's distributed all over the place.
So where can people watch your film again?
Sure. Right this second, it is distributed in North America, so Canada and the United States. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on iTunes. It's on Kino Now. It's on Google Play. It's on YouTube. If you go to your cable station and just say "alien abduction answers," it'll probably give you video on demand, that sort of thing. If you're outside of the country right now, you can see it, but if you have a VPN, because then you can plug into one of the stations here. But we are negotiating right now for international release, and so it'll be in the rest of the world this autumn. But for right now, it came up May 3rd. And I have to tell you, if you take a look at the reviews, it's, 9 stars out of 10, 4.8 stars out of 5. It's because here's the thing. I'm sure you guys have seen documentaries before, and paranormal and UFOs, whatever. Okay, they're all the same. And what I mean by this is this. Great information, really great information, right? But they don't connect with people, right? You see like an old film strip, right? And then you hear some guy go, back in 1947, this happened and this crashed in the desert. Okay, this is not the way this is. You literally ride with me. You're on my shoulder, you're in my pocket, and you are going through the same things that I'm going through. You live through the fear. People have seen this film and they said at times they felt afraid. At times they felt very sad. Grown men have told me that they got teary-eyed. And then at the end, what happens is we shepherd people through that fear to some sort of understanding, right? And when you got some sort of understanding, you can deal with it. And that's what I was hoping for me, John Yost, myself. And so I'm, making the film gave me some measure of peace. And so that's what I'm trying to give people who watch the film. It's unlike anything else. It's less about the shiny lights in the sky and more about, as I said to you, it's more about you, your soul, your consciousness, and how this all fits together. How all these paranormal things, everything from Bigfoot to psychics to mediumship to whatever, they're all related somehow. And if you think about it as consciousness, you can understand why it is. It's the great connector.
While you were filming, while you were filming, did any? Now, I'm not gonna say one theme, but did somebody in the film end up with an aha moment during the filming?
There are plenty of them. There are plenty of them, and they're throughout.
I'm having one right now.
Well,
because I got an experience that I went through, and like I've never talked about it because I just fobbed it off. So I live close to a military base, active military base. They do training constantly. Like you can drive across the road over there, and you can look at the mountain. It's usually on fire with all the simunitions and everything like that. But there's like this long stretch of road that goes past this, about I want to say about 10 miles long. I was driving down there one night to go see my mother, who lives in the next town over, and I was just driving across in my car, and then there's no one on the road. It's really late. I'm just getting off work. I've been in London all night. I'm just getting down the road, and this thing just flies. It's got to be like 20 feet above me, and like really, really fast, and it's like a triangle shape. I thought it was a Eurofighter Typhoon. So if anyone's seen the Eurofighter Typhoon, it's a delta wing-shaped aircraft. It's the main fighter for the UK. This thing flies past me and just goes straight up towards the mountain, then goes into a complete vertical climb. I don't mean like steady, I mean completely vertical. And if you've ever shot a big bore rifle, like a 50 or anything above that, it sucks the air out from around you. That feeling happened. Like all the grass fell down, and then all of a sudden, like the air came back and it just went back up. Completely dismissed it. I thought it was like a guy just hot dogging it in, a fighter aircraft. But now I'm just like, that's got to be something else.
Well, you never know. I mean, that's the thing. There's so many things out there that happen. I mean, people are getting abducted from their houses, and the doors aren't even being opened. How do you explain that? Abduction is one of those things that, I've heard so many stories of, I went to bed and when I woke up, things were different, but yet there was no proof that they ever left their house, but yet they know that they were gone because there was grass between their toes or something strange that they couldn't explain. Right. Like you had random bruises, how do we know? I mean, because I know I wake up all the time with bruises. We don't know where they came from, but I assume it's from something I did during the day, so I don't know. So I don't know. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Go Rex.
Go Rex.
Well, the first thing is, I'm going to watch your movie as soon as we're done here. There's no two ways about it. It's the first thing I'm going to do. But when you talked about missing time, I absolutely just shuddered because a little over a month ago, I was coming back from Des Moines. I stayed with a buddy, and it's a long drive, 3.5 hours for me to get home. And I'm on my motorcycle, and I'm just taking off his place, and the next thing I know, I'm 18 minutes from home. I had to pull over because I was so scared and frustrated because I'm like, how did I go from here to here? I don't remember any of it. Nothing. Just me all of a sudden looking down going on my GPS, how am I 18 miles from home?
Yeah.
And when you mentioned that, it just absolutely just, went through me because I didn't tell anybody about it until now. I mean, what was I to say?
Well, I've had a lot of experiences. I drove over the road for 20 years. and I would be in Kansas City, and the next thing I'd realize I'm in Tucumcari, New Mexico, and I'm going, okay, where was this place and this place that I usually stop at
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
didn't?
Yeah, and that's not down the road either.
No, that's a good little
That's a little
jaunt.
bit of a drive.
Yep.
Another question for you, John.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you ever see the movie or the documentary "Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind" by Dr.
Wh-
Greer?
By Dr. Greer, I'm familiar with his work.
That was an amazing documentary. I mean, it made you really think. And like what you've told tonight, I've just, I've always believed in it, but the way you put things puts it more in perspective than I've ever had before. I mean,
The problem for us, Rex, is this: is that we think we live in a solid world. Here's a beta tape. We used to use them all the time to record big sports events.
Right.
Okay, so you take a look at this and you say, well, that's solid, right? That's solid, right? It's not. If we had an electron microscope, we could see that the atoms themselves are vibrating. They're vibrating. And there's space in between. Now, the reason that we can't put our hand through it is we are denser, we are slower than the material of this. Okay.
Right.
So if we had the physics to increase our vibration, which sounds like poo-poo, but literally to increase our vibration, we could literally penetrate that. We could penetrate that. So watch this. If I have the physics to do that, then I have the physics to walk through a wall.
mm-hmm.
I have the physics to take you off your bike. I have the physics to take you out of your truck, or just open a portal and allow you to bend using a Higgs and Bose by bending space-time. See, everything is malleable. We think it's all hard because we live inside it, right? Just like
Right.
that fish. I use that fish as an example because we look down on fish. We say, oh, well, fish are, mindless creatures that live in there. And you know what? They're limited because they can't live on Earth. They have to live in the water, right? Okay, to a fish, walking on the Earth doesn't make any sense. It's impossible. It's impossible. But it's not impossible at all. In fact, it's not supernatural at all. It's just a different way of existence. And so what I'm saying to you is, just like you guys investigate ghosts and spirits and everything else, that is a different vibration than our hard, three-dimensional. And that's why they are existing right beside us, here, there, everywhere. And we can't detect them. Sometimes we can through technology. Sometimes we can through our sensitivity as people. But this stuff is everywhere. And these things that have happened to you, when this craft comes out of nowhere and does a 90-degree angle straight up in the air, where your motorcycle somehow seems to transport itself, 150 miles and you don't realize it, or your truck, this is only possible through quantum physics. We've always believed that light were waves or they were particles. Do you know they change? And they change when we look at them. In fact, if you intend to look at light, it changes before it happens. Here's something interesting. I don't know if you guys know about entanglement. Okay. Here's an example. Entanglement. What they did was they took two photons, okay, which are two light particles. Okay. They took them together and they used magnetic forces to keep them together. Okay. And they agitated them. Okay. Then they separated them with this is real hard science. This is what our physicists have done. And they take that one photon and they go. Now, it could be 2 miles, it could be 100 miles, it could be 50,000 miles. Doesn't matter. And then they agitate this one. This one here moves exactly like this one. How's that possible? How's that possible? Because everything is connected. Let me tell you something else that's strange. There was a physicist in Japan, and he studied water and the molecular makeup of water. He was interested in filtering water and this sort of thing. And he came upon an experiment about intent on the effects of water. Okay, this is a silly example, but think about the ramifications of it. So he took a jar of water, right? And he put a word on it, love, okay? And just wrote it on like masking tape, and then flash froze the water. Every one of those water droplets were beautiful, crystalline, gorgeous, looks like castles of ice, okay? Then he took tape, put it on, said hate or disgust or ugly, whatever. Flash froze it. Every single time they were deformed and ugly and broken apart and non-consistent. This thing was repeated over and over and over again. So what does this mean? I mean, a word is a bunch of ink, but like I told you, it's a container for thought, right? I mean, there aren't two little old guys in your head turning a rusty crane every time you think something, right? No. What is it? It's electricity. It's power. It's energy. It's flash from here to here. That's how you think. That's how you move your hands. That's how everything. You are an electric biological machine. That's what you are. And the way you think is through energy. Okay. So words are just encapsulated containers of energy. Now, I'm talking and talking and talking. You might not give a damn, but let me ask you this question. Think about this. The human body is made up of how much water? 75%? 80%? Okay. Think about the things that are going through our mind and the words that we say. How is that affecting the water in our body? How many illnesses are we causing ourselves? How many things are we doing to destroy ourselves and others? Now, I'm not a tree hugger in any way, shape, or form. I'm a pretty conservative guy. But I'm telling you, if I found out that my thoughts controlled that kind of power, everything, if you knew it, not even knew it, but knew it, if you knew it, then everything out of your mouth would be positive. You'd say thank you and please and excuse me, and the world would change. That's the power of thought, the power of consciousness. It has been demonstrated by physics. It is clear. It happens. Not bunches of people know it, but you can Google it. You can find out yourself. This is what we're dealing with. This is what these ETs, the Gaia intelligences, this is what our governments are understanding. This is what the guys from other planets are understanding. That's what these ultra terrestrials understand, that we have the power literally to change everything if we put our minds to it.
Right.
We literally do, and we don't even have to touch it. We can do it through thought. My question on that experiment, though, is if he wrote the word love, meaning that, in a way to where he's right, love, hate, writing it with hateful intentions, did it change the experiment? Yeah. So, because it's not the container, it's the intention. That's why I started off in the early part of this conversation by saying I could love a sandwich, or I could be totally in love with my new bride. It's really the truth. This is why words are lies. This is why they fall short of what the real communication is. This is why some couples can just look at each other, never have to say a word. They understand completely, right? How is that possible? It's because of consciousness. And that we will discover. And if you listen and you read enough of the ufology text, you'll find out that these entities control their ships through thought, through that interface. They control it through thought. And thought is emotion and motivation and energy. So I guess what we're telling everybody out there is you can change the world by actually thinking good things, saying the right things at the right time, and be positive.
Right.
Why not?
One of us
Why
can
not?
do it.
Why not?
It's easy.
Well, you look at, I'll give you a perfect example. I'm a big deer hunter, sitting in a tree stand. Early in the morning, your eyes and your mind can make a bush look like a deer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You got a big open area in front of you, like that. You're scanning and looking. And then all of a sudden you look, and you can't figure out why. There's a deer 15 feet in front of your stand that walked out
Mm-hmm.
85 yards out of the timber, and you did not see it.
How's that possible?
That's happened, I don't know how
100
many
times.
times.
I tell this story. I've been working at the same company now for 12 years, right? I'm driving home. This is a year or so ago. And my wife is on the phone, and she's talking to me about picking up something from the store. And I stop at this stoplight, and right beside it is a billboard, right? And I'm looking at this billboard, and remember, I'm in advertising and film and TV and stuff like that. And I said, that is a stupid billboard. And I describe it to her, and I said, who the hell put that thing up there? And she said, honey, that's been there for 8 years. I said, wait a second. I drive the same exact way to and from work. I stop at the same place every day twice, and I have never seen it. Impossible. Impossible. So if this is the case of things that are right in front of our face, that deer, that billboard, then what else are we missing? Remember, your mind is taking in hundreds of thousands of bits of information. You know, we're talking to each other, but you also hear that light hum inside your microphone. Listen. You also hear your grandson in the back when he says something. You also hear when I cough in between this. You also hear the shuffle of your feet or the rustle of your jeans when you readjust. All of that stuff's happening. But where's your focus? This is why I'm telling you, and I'm telling you, I don't know all the answers. Absolutely not. Absolutely. And I never want to be accused of that. Oh, you think, no. But I will tell you this. There is stuff everywhere that we are missing. And I think that example of the deer, the example of the billboard is enough for me. So how much stuff that's obscure or subtle are you missing? Not you, people in the world.
Right. People in general. I mean, it's like people saying, I know that like the back of my hand. And then you look at your hand and you go, where in the hell did that come from?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it happens every day. We miss something.
Sure.
And do we need to catch everything? No, but we do need to be paying attention to the things around us. Like I told you before the show, I grew up in Baltimore. I had to know what was around me at all times. I was very aware of.
You really have to now.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was aware of the mugger who tried to mug me when I was 9. You know, things like that. I was very aware of television crews following me around when I was a kid, knowing what to say, what not to say, things like that. That was really important because back to the serial killer thing, my grandfather was one. So, and I was on the news more times than I can count back in the 70s. And so I had to learn to pay attention to every little thing around me. Funny thing is in New Orleans, I'll walk out in the street in front of a car and not even pay attention. So whole different ball game. But most things I am paying such close attention to that I don't miss much. But when I do miss something, it's usually something big.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind, everybody. Most of the time you're probably missing something a lot bigger than you think you need.
Oh yeah.
So it's weird what we miss. So
open your eyes and pay attention.
Yeah. So those Senate hearings, what they've done is not only have they changed the paradigm to say, okay, people who have seen things are not crazy, right? But what they've done is they've given us permission. Now you're allowed to look up in the sky. They're changing all the rules for the Navy and for the Air Force and for the Army and the Marines so they can report things. They're telling them, no, you're not going to lose your commission. You're not going to lose your position. You're allowed to.
But are they? I mean, the thing is, they're saying that, but do they mean it? I mean,
I think they do.
Well, why else would they have created Space Force?
Yeah, I think they do because they have to.
That wasn't our government. I mean, that that was one guy saying, "Hey, we're going to start this," and he created a gut. I'm surprised it's still around with this stuff.
It was around before him.
It's
I know,
around,
but you
but
know what I
they
mean.
now, whenever you say the Army, the Marines, the Navy, you look at how many of them's including Space Force in it.
Yeah.
Do
Don't
you
be
know anybody in the
surprised.
Space Force?
No, miss. No, miss. But I'll just tell you this: the black budget could build countries and worlds and planets and everything else for so many years. He just gave a name to it. He just gave a name to it. Listen, these guys have lied. These guys have lied. This is once again the thing that we've got to understand. And it's not something specific about the government. It's just everything that we thought was solid is not quite solid. Just like I said, the tape is not quite solid. The table is not quite solid. Their word is not quite solid. What we see or what we think we see is not quite solid. There's more to it. So just understand what you said. You said, look, do we have to notice everything? No. But here's the thing. If we allow ourselves the ability to say, what is there? See, we all have opinions. Get rid of the opinions because I love this. All the kids say this too. You know, I got to fight for my truth. My truth. You know, I'm old enough to know that when people used to say that was like an opinion that nobody else shared, right? So it's my truth and my truth. Look, you can say all you want. This is a pen, a blue pen. This is a blue pen. If you don't want to call it a blue pen, you can do whatever you want, but it's still a blue pen. Here's the thing. This stuff is around us. This stuff is around us. If we open our eyes, you'll be surprised at what you see. And now the government has given us the ability to do it without being mocked. You're allowed to do it. In fact, one of the documents that had come out from the government is it is now no longer an option to look. It is your duty. It is your duty. Remember after 9/11, the big thing was see something, say something, right?
Right.
Same sort of thing, because now they do want reporting. And once again, it's all about this. It's all about forming the narrative so they can say, listen, we're involved with the people. We love the people. We're helping the people. They've been doing this for years.
The question is, what is their agenda?
Who?
For us the governments, for us to speak out.
Well, their agenda is to smooth this out. You know how fast the news cycle goes? When we were all kids, you wouldn't find out somebody died overseas for a week.
Right.
Now you know when some despot takes, farts 3 seconds later. Right? Okay, so what they're trying to do is like, hey, listen, don't look back there. Don't look back there. Look right now. Let's all report. Let's all be together. Let's move forward together. Let's be together. All together, right? You've heard them. I got that. I got that
more
southern
than
drawl.
I should have in my life.
Yeah, you've heard them, and that's exactly what they want you to focus on now. Listen, they want to control how the story comes out, and they want to look like the good guys in the end. That's it. Remember, they have no other agenda than to tax and to control. That's it. Are they evil? Are they bad? Are they good? No, they're just a shark. That's what they do. So stop attaching an emotion to it. Just say, okay, look, that's a shark. That's what a shark does. Fine. Let's take what the shark is doing and let's not stick our arm in the tank. Let's look for ourselves. Let's avoid the shark. Let's take our own observations. Let's make our own decisions.
Do you think they'll ever show anything that, if there is anything in Area 51?
Well, Area 51 is filled with our tech. That's the stuff that I was talking about before. And, it's our tech, and it's our tech that we've stolen from the Russians, and our tech that we've stolen from China, and our tech that we've stolen from them. Okay? So I don't think Area 51 is ever going to come. In fact, they would like you to look everywhere else but Area 51. And right. Area 51 is just one of several other locations that you'll never find out. In fact, they'd like you to focus on Area 51 because if you focus there, you don't look anywhere else. Right?
You're not looking at Wright-Patterson. You're not looking at Aberdeen Proving Grounds.
Right.
Yep.
And those are places that are huge in the.
We steal from China. I didn't know China ever invented anything or made anything on their own.
Talent.
I thought all they do was steal.
No. Well, they do. They do.
I mean, they're really
but
good at it, but
what we do is we steal their talent. Yeah, got some smart
they're
guys.
down. Okay.
You know, take a look at our boys in school. Take a look at their boys in school.
Right.
You know, we catch them spy, and that's why they let them spy too. They let them spy so they can catch them and then force them into working for us.
Yeah.
Where we would like to take them outside and shoot them, you know, because they're spies. And we say, well, there's no justice. No. The government has their, once again, like I tried to tell you something. They're not interested in justice. They're not interested in anything else. They're interested in taxing and controlling. So if they can control the bad guys, then that's fine.
Oh, they're
John, I
good at
didn't introduce
controlling.
Ron. This is Ron, my husband,
Ron.
by the
Hey,
way.
Ron.
This is John.
Bye, Ron.
We didn't have time earlier to.
I was like, this guy just wandered in. He looks like a nice guy.
Yeah, he just
I was late.
he just wanders in from his walk.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
I had to
understand.
get the sweat off me.
I understand, sir.
He didn't want to glisten too much.
Yeah. So this film, I'll just tell you this. You know, you can't eat an elephant in one bite, right? Like we can touch on certain subjects tonight and, you know, some of that'll tickle your mind and you'll say, man, I got a lot of things. And then you'll get off the phone with me and then you'll think more and you'll come up with your own ideas. No, this is the beginning. This is why the film is called Answers. It's the beginning, right? So the first film is Alien Abduction Answers. Takes people from ignorance to some sort of understanding. My second film that I'm planning now is called Alien Abduction Awareness. That's where you take that information and you integrate it into what you do and how you think. Okay? Just like knowing that road is washed out. You'd integrate that information and then now you can make different choices, right? Okay, then the last film is going to be Alien Abduction Ascension. This is where, if you know the information and you've integrated it, you can make the best possible decision. And there are people around the world who are changing things with their thoughts. There are people like you who are discussing paranormal, talking about things that are possible, understanding it, working with it, wrestling with the idea, because you're not denying it. What you're doing is you're saying it exists, we understand it, and now we're gonna knead that dough. We're gonna figure this thing out.
Right.
And okay, and that's what that transformation's about. So could you imagine a world where people had the information just like you, people integrated it, and now more and more people are thinking, wait a second, I'm not the center of the universe. I'm not right all the time. Wait a minute, I'm part of so much more. I am consciousness. If you knew with your heart that your life was not 75 years old, look, if you think it's 75 years old, hey, you can swear, you can hurt, you can kill people, you can take their money, you can steal, you can do whatever the hell you want, because it doesn't matter, because in 75 years you're gone. But if you are a consciousness, a soul that's wearing a body, when this flesh just kind of falls off just like that hat, you're like, oh man, I'm literally in the middle of this thing. I got more to do. And so think about it. In any path, you know, you're coming home from your friends. You're going down to New Mexico. You can go backwards. You can take a wrong turn, right? It's possible. Or you can go straight. You can go the best way. When people start to understand that, and I know this is so freaky. I say in the movie, I say, how in God's name is it possible that shiny lights in the sky can make you start to think about being a better person? It doesn't make any freaking sense. It doesn't make any sense. Except that what it does is it opens the world to the conception of consciousness, because the only way that these questions can be answered, everything from talking to the dead, channeling, aliens, ESP, is if this other thing exists, which is this consciousness. This is why these ETs are interested in us. We're like little idiots with M80s, right? Our technology is high, but we're immature as hell. And what's happening is during 1940s, we start blowing up all these nuclear bombs. Well, stop and think about, like I said, about this being hard. So many people think about other dimensions. In quantum physics, they talk about 11 dimensions. But people think about dimensions like this and this, like a sandwich, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's our perception. It's more like this. We are on top of each other. On top, it's blending, it's intersecting. We're moving back and forth. So we're finally doing something in this world that literally pierces that veil and affects them on their level. That's why they went, what the hell is this? And they came here to find out what the hell's going on. This is why you hear about all, I don't understand how people can be so dense. This is why you hear about all of these sightings over military bases and how they can turn off nuclear bombs. Now watch this. Watch how clever this is. Watch how clever this is. A lot of people are like, "Hey, listen, man, they're threatening our sovereignty and they're trying to mess with us and they're going to be dangerous." Wait a second. They flew over. They turned them off. Right? They turned them off. They didn't explode them. They turned them off. Then they flew away and they came back on. As to say, a father or a mother or a parent or a big brother, look, number one, the power that you think you have, you don't have. Number two, we can take it from you if we have to. Number three, you are in control of your own future. All right, now you know better. We're going to step back. They didn't explode them. They didn't take them away. They didn't destroy them. They showed us what to do. Just like you'd show your child how to fish. So you take the worm, you put it on the hook, then you let them do it. Because that's the only way we learn, right? It's through example. Stop and think about that. Stop and really, really think about that. There's something much bigger going on here, boys. Something much, much bigger. And we, just like, you remember when you were a kid and the most important thing to you in your whole life, I always love that Christmas story where the kid wants a BB gun, you know what I mean? He wants that damn BB gun. That's all that he cares about. My kids, when they were growing up, they wanted those Yu-Gi-Oh cards. God, gotta get those damn Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Now they're 20s and married and everything else. I said, you want some Yu-Gi-Oh cards? And they laugh at me. But to them, at that point, that was everything in the world. We're missing the boat, gents. Anyway, I'm an Irish guy. I talk too much.
Hell no, that's all right. That's all right.
I got a question actually. So you're in the UK. We don't get many people actually talking about aliens and everything because it's not really a big thing. We got like one big story at the moment with an RAF pilot who's retired who's like brought out a load of things that he's seen. But the real turning on point for us in the UK was the Roswell, New Mexico incident.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Would you think it was like a crash? Do you think the US government tried to take something down? Like, what is it all about? Because we don't know very much about it. We just know something happened.
Yeah. Well, see, once again, there's a lot of information, and you can get lost in the woods. But the truth of the matter is, and we talk about it in the film. During the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, you could talk about UFOs, and everybody thought you were an idiot, right?
Right.
But here's the thing. This is what people don't understand. In the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, it was treated like a serious thing. People saw them all around the world. Mm-hmm. Newspapers reported them. They talked about them. During that Roswell site, there were reports of flying discs everywhere. Okay? There were lights in the sky. People would report them. Okay? In fact, in my movie, you'll see, in 1970, these big Senate hearings? You know who had a Senate hearing at the time? How about Gerald Ford? Before he was president, he was a senator from Michigan, and he commanded a hearing. They talked about it. Now, after that, there were a couple of reports that come out, and then that's when it started where people didn't want to talk about it because they were going to lose their job. But up to that point, you could talk about it and not be looked at strangely, right? So back then, during Roswell, there were sightings of all this stuff. And so what our government was doing is this. You got to remember, Roswell was the place where our nuclear bombs were. They were the ones that were taken over to Japan. We had defenses set up with this new scalar radar, and they were blasting it out. And one of the ancillary things of that were it had screwed up the navigation of a couple, not just one, but a couple of these discs, and they had crashed because they lost their bearings and went down. So yeah, I 100% I've talked to, I mean, since I've got involved, I've ended up talking to thousands of people and talked to some very, very credible individuals. There were a couple of crashes, and we had more to do with it than most people know. And it was our testing of the scalar weapons. It was our testing of that new radar. It was such a powerful force that it went out and screwed up their navigation systems and brought them down.
Interesting.
Yeah, just like GPS. If it doesn't work, you can make a wrong turn.
Yeah, the way the narrative goes over here in the UK and probably most of the rest of Europe is a US fighter jet shot down an alien spacecraft.
Well, that's I mean, and this is important for you guys to know. Look, two things. Number one, it doesn't matter to me if people believe me or don't. Just like if I'm up on the hill with you and you don't believe that there's a bear down there, all right. You know what? I have a strategy. You have a strategy. One of us is going to be a good strategy. The other one's not going to be so successful.
Right.
Okay. Well, up until the point when they had these videos come out in December, what was it, in 2019? Yeah. Everybody who said, that's bullshit. And then December 20th, they went, well, there's something to it. Everybody who said, well, that's just nothing, that's a fluke. And then the Senate comes out with all this hearing and everything else and all these papers. The day before, everybody could say, that's all bullshit. But then you go, like you said, all of a sudden, your mind got screwed up. You went, wait a minute, there's something to this. So what happened? Was something to it always and you just didn't perceive it? Or did it suddenly turn into something? Of course, it was your perception. So what I say is this. People like to say, I follow the science. Well, to follow the science is not my damn opinion. Follow the science is the facts. So don't listen to me. I'm full of shit. Don't listen to me. Watch the film. Watch the news. Go outside. See for yourself. See the facts. Make up your own mind.
Decide get your own opinion. Yeah, and share it. That's what we want to do here is educate people on things that we don't know about.
Yeah. Like to your friend, and this, I think this is important before we go. I want to share something with you. People are afraid. I was, as a 7-year-old kid, I was scared to death. I'm telling you, I was scared to death. And people are afraid. You talk about Dr. Greer and his work with CE5. Okay. Think about it this way. I speak a couple of languages, right? If I'm walking through an airport, and let's say somebody is screaming in German, they're in distress, okay? And I'm in, I don't know, Ohio. And I hear this person. Well, I speak German. I'm going to walk over, and I'm going to ask them in German what, I can do for them, right? Everybody else might understand that they're in distress, but they're not going to understand what the person's saying, right? Okay. So the energy, the language that we use calls the energy in the language that we're going to receive. So for some reason, your dear friend, Denise, had a positive energy and it resonated with something that responded to her positively. Just like this water experiment that we talked about a little while ago. The energy that you have, the power that you have, the thoughts that you have can direct your outcome. And if you put out that beacon, you're that raccoon. You're that raccoon waving. You're not vicious. You're not antagonistic. You're not looking for a fight or a war. If you put that out, you're going to receive that back. Because that thought, that energy is something that we cannot understand. But what happens is that these entities, from wherever they are, can see almost like a light. And that's we're the raccoon and we're waving. So it's important. If we think about this, like we were talking about hunters, right? If you approach a bird in an aggressive manner. It'll fluff up its feathers, right, like a peacock or whatever. Or, a deer will start to paw, or a mountain cat will arch its back. Okay, those are natural reactions to aggressive or negative feelings. Yeah? Okay. Understand this. Since everything is emotion and consciousness, if we put that out, are the negative things that we experience, are they a reaction to us? Are they really a reflection to our negativity that we put out? Are they? See, you talk enough to me long enough, you'll be screwed up forever. Yeah. Because I never really finish a sentence. It's always, well, what if this or what if this? But that's the point. That's the point. And that's why I say to you, the film is not supposed to answer every one of your questions. What it's supposed to do is say, look, this is what you think. Why do you think that? If your answer is, well, because I think that, well, you're probably going to have a hard time with the movie. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge you every single time to say, hey, was that a deer right below me? Was that a billboard? How can I tell that's a billboard? Why is that? How am I missing this time on my motorcycle or in my truck? And that's what this film is about.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'd like to miss some time during work. If there's any way we can get that to happen, we're all doing great.
Me too.
Work.
Me
What
too.
are you talking about? Work.
If from that I could feel more rested, then that would help.
Sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said, I still have a lot of questions. You may not be the person to ask them to at this point.
Sure.
But I think it would be good for all of us to watch the film.
Yeah.
Maybe write down some questions from that and have you back
How
on.
long is it, the movie?
It's an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
Like that.
The
Yeah.
reason I ask is once we start it, we want to be able to finish it. We have grandkids get dropped off at random times.
Sure.
I'm a very good grandma. Let's just say
That's
that.
all right. I just ordered it. So
Yeah,
you
it's
just
an hour,
ordered
it's an
it?
hour and 20 minutes.
yeah, I ordered it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I ordered the DVD
I got
you
it
got
queued
the
up on
DVD?
here.
about
Yeah,
10
that's
minutes
probably
ago.
the best way to
Yeah.
do it.
You can get it on the DVD as well. Yeah.
So did Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my VPN on my phone.
So
Well-
before we go, since we have so many of us on here, let's have John tell everybody where they can find him, where they can find the movie again, and all that stuff, so that you can get your information out there in case we get cut off a little early.
Well, I just want to say before I go, I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your intelligent and insightful questions. I like talking to smart people, and it's been a real delight. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed having you on. So like I said, after we all watch the film, we're going to try to have you back on so that you can answer some of the questions that we have from the film.
My pleasure. My pleasure. My name is John Yost. You can Google me and you can find me everywhere. You can find me on IMDb. You can find me at our company's website, which is Rhino Pictures. Rhino is RYNO Pictures.com. You can find the film, as I said, on Amazon Prime or Amazon the store, and you can buy the DVD. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on iTunes or Google Play. You can find it on Kino now. And you can find it on video on demand on any cable station. You just say my name or say the film's name, which is Alien Abduction: Answers. And I just appreciate the opportunity to talk about it.
Like I said, we appreciate you coming on and talking to us about, like I said, something that we don't all know a lot about. We wanted to know more about it. And you've actually educated us and probably some of our listeners on stuff that they had no clue. And you relating it back to ghosts and spirits and things like that makes it very interesting. I do have one question for you. This is from a theory that I had way back when in 1973. What is the connection between UFOs and Bigfoot? Is there one?
I truly believe it. I truly believe it. In fact, I'm going to tell you what I believe, and this is after talking to some of the best remote viewers in the world. It is exactly what people think, in that it is a real creature, okay, that breathes and eats and has customs and all this other stuff. But what it truly is it's something. It's an avenue for a much bigger consciousness. What's happening is that there are entities through some sort of physics which are able to inhabit that body, or able to put themselves in that body, almost like Avatar. And so it's a creature that's been around here from time immemorial. And there are entities that don't have this type of atmosphere, and they don't have this type of land and water and sea. And so what they do is they place themselves inside them somehow, almost like riding them, soul riding them, and experiencing all of these textures. Imagine if you were completely conscious, or if you were AI, and you didn't have a corporal body. Okay, you couldn't taste, you couldn't feel, you couldn't love physically, right? So these things have been around forever, just like all of our history and all of our ancestors and all of our indigenous people say, okay? But they're also connected with those UFOs in that way. Two things can be true at the same time. I can be fat and tall, and I am both.
Well, the thing is, if you realize
they're kind of like what we call skinwalkers.
Yes,
where
sir.
an alien could transfer into a Bigfoot.
Yes, sir.
Kind of
Yes,
what
sir.
you're saying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I've kind of thought,
Yeah.
if there is such a thing out there.
I tell you,
I believe it. I believe it that they are.
I don't know how many times I was laughed at back in 1973, 7 years old, saying that Bigfoot was an alien.
Yeah.
And people looked at me like I was crazy. And until a few years ago, I never heard that theory outside of my own mouth.
Now you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
So it was one of those very strange things. And so at least to give some validity to the fact that at 7 years old, I was smart enough to know something wasn't right.
Well, think about it this way. Your brain, like I said, is an antenna. So have you ever seen those situations where you thought of something, some gizmo, and then you're walking through Walmart 6 months later, you see that exact thing?
Yeah.
And you said, damn it, I thought of that. Okay, how's that possible? The reason is think about this. Okay, before I go, think about this. Everything around you, this will be an easy way to figure this out. Everything around you is not empty space, right? You have radio waves, right? You got cable, you got X-rays, you've got UV rays, you got all kinds of rays around you. Now you can't see them, you can't taste them, you can't feel them, but they're there. So let's take a radio, and we put a radio on the table. Okay, well, nothing happens. Okay, why? Because you have to turn it on, meaning you have to focus it. Now you got to tune it, because guess what? If you don't tune it, all you get is white noise. Now what? Can the radio pick up different frequencies? You damn right it can. Different channels, different. That's what we are. That's what our brain is. See, everybody thinks where our brain is here. It's not. It's not. This is an antenna. This is an antenna. The information, just like the radio. The radio is not the brain. The radio is the tuner. This is how you, as 7 years old, can pick up that information, because it's there in the brainwaves, in the consciousness. That's how you're able to do it. That's how people can read each other's thoughts. That's how people can feel something. I know my son got in a car accident, and they know something's wrong, right? You've heard mothers talk about this all the time. How do they know? Because they can feel it. They're tuned, just like that radio, into that signal. It's not supernatural. It's extremely natural.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Rex, we need to talk with Rex for a minute.
Okay.
Because Rex asked to be on tonight. So, Rex, was there a good reason that you wanted to be on tonight besides to hear John?
I I love being on the show. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just say, I think you're a regular now, Rex. I love
Yeah.
to do that.
So, well, we're just glad to have you. So, Rex,
So-
where
Thank you.
can everybody find you?
Yeah.
You talking to me or John?
He's
Yeah,
talking to you,
Rex.
Rex.
It's
You,
talking
Rex.
to Rex,
You.
You can find me on Facebook, either under my personal page, my art page, which is Unexplainable Art, my paranormal page, which is All Out Paranormal, and my new one, thanks to you guys, is Music, Movies, and Maybe More. It's a new show that the Bill of Rights Network has graciously given me and my son, and I'm so thankful for them. And you can find me there too.
What time on Saturdays?
7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Central.
Central. Yes. Sorry.
We always had to throw Central Time in.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially with people like me.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
Okay. And Luke, where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me here for most of the shows. You can also find me on Discord. I'm in the Dogsy, and then you might see me out and about doing my normal work. I'm pretty much everywhere.
And plug your show.
Oh yeah, 7 p.m. Central on Thursdays. I do a tech show around here. Show up if you want to. I'm doing it for your benefit, not mine. If it was doing it for my benefit, I'd be going to lose a couple of pounds. We're talking about a little bit of everything.
non-binary.
Yes.
And for me, you will find me right here on the Bill of Rights Network every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central on the Paranormal Pride, and here on Tuesday nights at 5 p.m. Central as part of this lovely show that everybody's listening to now, Paranormal Nation, Paranormal Not So Normal.
Yeah, and it ends up
Yeah,
not
right.
so normal a lot of times.
Yeah.
We were more paranormal today than not so normal.
Right.
Yeah, it was a good show.
But you can go over to the Bill of Rights Network, and the pin post there lists all our shows. Right after this show, we got the Conservative View with 3 ladies on there. Barbara, Tina, and Sally are on there. Wednesday nights, we have Vincent's Voice with Vincent on there. Thursday, we got Luke. Friday, we got the Second Amendment Ranch with Cameron, myself, and Wally. Right after that, at 7:30, we have Free Speech, Free Stupidity. Oh, we get crazy on that. We got a contest going down now for votes. We'll be talking about crazy news out of Washington, D.C. this week.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
NC-17
That'll
rating.
be a lot of
probably.
Yeah, it's an NC-17 rated. You may find us half drunk. You may find us talking and just having a blast, just to make people laugh. Because everybody
We
gets
need it.
tired of hearing about all the bad news in this country. So that's what we do. But yeah, we've got a great network. We're also over on Things Network with this show, and also over at the Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment Facebook page with this show. But John, we want to thank you very much for showing and coming up on the show.
Yes, sir.
It was all great information out there. And
Yeah.
any idea when your next movie that you're going to make will be in production? Or
Yeah, I'm working right now on the framework of the film, and there's a lot of stuff that's happening to me. Like I said, the missing time, and there's a lot of other stuff that's happening to me. We're going to be capturing all that on camera, and so it'll be pretty interesting. Anyway, the hope is to start principal photography in August, but people can follow that on Facebook or Twitter. They can find me on Facebook or Twitter also, and I pretty much update people on what's going on.
right.
By the way,
right.
I'd like to put this show on my site as well. Can I find this on YouTube, or is this all?
Go to Bill of Rights Network and hit the share button.
Yes, sir.
Share it right over.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Anytime you want to come on, just send Denise or the Bill of Rights Network a message,
Thank you.
and we can have you a guest on here. I mean, you're full of
Come on, give us
information that we're not
updates
used
and-
to. This type of information.
Yeah. I kind of take care of the booking of guests because I seem to know everybody.
Yes,
Yeah,
Miss.
she
guys.
does.
She does. She does,
See?
she does a great job. And now she's got her show back on, so she's got to find guests, so she's doing double duty now.
I don't think she's gonna have any problems.
Good updates, John. Just let us know, and we'll get you in.
Thank you very, very much, everybody.
Right.
I really appreciate you. Have a great night. God bless you all.
Okay, God bless you. Everybody, thank you in the chat room for watching the show tonight. Hit any of us up on the Billerites Network. We'll get the messages out to everybody. So we will see you next week at this time. And stay tuned next for Conservative View. Everybody have a good night. We'll see all the hosts later on.